I've had the Mate 20X for about 24 hours, so that means it's time for some first impressions. What's going on, everyone? If this is your first time stopping by the channel, I do really appreciate you taking the time to watch my video. I try to take tech and talk about it through a real-world lens and real user experience lens instead of getting lost in the specs of the device. Today we're looking at the Mate 20X. Like I said, I've had it for about a day, so we're going to talk about some first impressions that I've had with the device. Now, before we get too far in, time codes for everything will be in the description down below. So if there's an initial impression that you're really interested in seeing, just go ahead and feel free to jump around the video. Now, I've got the M pin next to the phone. If you didn't watch my unboxing yesterday, I got this phone from Funky Club, funkyshop.club, Funky Huawei, I guess specifically that branch of the website. They throw in the M pin for free. The M pin's about 50 to 70 bucks if you buy it separately. They have the official international version of the device, the EVR-L29. So I really highly recommend checking it out through them. I have a link in the description down below. They've got super fast shipping too. So, Mate 20X. Now, like I said, time codes for everything will be in the description down below. And to kind of show you guys what the Mate pin or M pin looks like, I actually took a note to cover all the bullet points we're going to go over in this video. And just wrote them down last night as I was thinking about them. So we're going to cover the camera, speakers, performance, battery and charging, the screen and notch, and the pin, and also issues that I've had so far with the device. So, starting from the top, the cameras. I usually don't show camera samples in my videos because you're looking at a camera sample that is going from my screen to a camera to your screen, so it's probably not going to look very accurate. That said, I wanted to show off the night mode, and you can kind of see, I guess I need to turn on auto rotate, huh? You can kind of see what to expect with the night mode on this. So this is the same night mode and same camera setup you would find on the Mate 20 Pro. This is the picture of my backyard. That's just what it looked like before turning on night mode. Once I turn on night mode, I mean, look at that difference. From that to that. Look at that difference. You can see my dog, you can see the grass. It doesn't have a ton of detail, but you can kind of tell it's grass. What I'll say is on the Pixel 3, and I will be doing a full camera comparison between the Mate 20X camera and the Pixel 3, because like I said, it's the same camera as the Mate 20 Pro. The Pixel 3, for that same shot with its night mode, the grass just kind of looked like a green blur. You couldn't really tell it was grass. I mean, it's obviously grass, but it just kind of looked like a green blur. So, camera so far, I've been super impressed. And one of the really cool things, again, in my full camera comparison against the Pixel 3, I'll show this off, is there's a cinematic mode when you're taking a video. Now what that is the entire video is black and white, except for humans. If you're a human, you're in full color. It looks really cool. It's a cool effect. I can't wait to take a video with that cinematic effect going on. Next on the list is to jump back over here. Speakers. So, we've got the dual or stereo speakers, true stereo speakers. We got one on the top, the speaker grill, that's actually a speaker. Same here on the bottom, speaker grill, it is actually a speaker. So we've got left and right channel audio, which is what stereo speakers are, instead of a huge speaker on the bottom handling almost everything, and a small one on the top handling highs like a lot of manufacturers are doing. True stereo speakers. They're not as good as the speakers on the Pixel 3, and that really surprised me, because the phone is bigger, it has Dolby Atmos, but I think what it comes down to is the Pixel 3 has a little bezel on the top and bottom, so it can have a big, speaker grill there, more room to house the speaker, whereas this is pretty darn close to bezel-less. And that's not a rip on either phone, I don't mind the bezels on the Pixel 3 if you're going to put those big speakers in there. Don't mind it one bit. But the Pixel 3, they were louder, had a little bit more bass, both sounded super balanced, so if I hadn't heard the Pixel 3, I would have thought that this was the best, but I have. So speakers are great, but second to the Pixel 3. The performance, and for this I'm going to jump into Twitter, and I'm actually going to grab my OnePlus 6T to demonstrate this difference here. So, with Twitter, and these are both on airplane mode for the sake of this video, so don't get any text or phone calls. You can see my scrolling here, side by side, it's just faster on the OnePlus 6T. Scrolling speed is just faster, and that's the same thing on a website. Twitter's a good example because it's just an endless timeline basically, but what Huawei's, it seems like they've done is they've pulled a page out of Apple's book, and they've taken the, I guess, the scrolling and things like that, and they've kind of capped a limit on it of how fast you can scroll. Now, when you think about EMUI, and that's Huawei's skin, putting it on more budget smartphones, that really makes sense because those processors might not be able to handle scrolling that quickly. Could create a stutter or a lag. So it makes more sense when you think about it through that lens. It does create a very smooth user experience. One way is not necessarily better than the other. I prefer the way the OnePlus 6T does it personally, but you know, like I said, it's not a negative thing. It's just a thing, you know, something that you need to be aware of in my eyes. Next, jumping back over here, charging and the battery. So we've got a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. As you can maybe see here, I'm at 100%. So I did charge the battery all the way up before this video. The battery, I was getting about 50 minutes of screen on time, 50 per 10% of battery. So we extrapolate that out, we get about 8.5 hours screen on time. Now I also had about an hour and 15 minutes of phone calls, so that's a bigger battery hit than you might initially think. If you can hear my dog in the background, I apologize. Yeah, about an hour and 15 minutes of phone calls, which is actually a pretty decent battery drain. I was on Wi-Fi most of the day as well, but I expect to get between 8 and 9 hours of battery life out of this phone. I'm sorry, screen on time out of this battery. That's what I meant to say. Now, with respect to charging, it's very similar to the OnePlus 6T, and what I mean by that is you have to make sure you use Huawei's brick and cable. I grabbed the cable that comes in the box here to show you guys what it looks like in case you're curious. If I can get the camera to focus on it, I'm not sure that I can. Huawei's cables have the USB part in here is purple. Same thing over on the USB-C end. It's a lot harder to see though, but the cables are purple. That's how you know it's a Huawei cable. You have to use their cable and brick for the supercharging to work, or else you're just going to be charging normally. Now, it's not the 40-watt supercharger that they have on their Mate 20 Pro, but it is pretty quick. Again, kind of taking some data and extrapolating it. Because I didn't run it all the way down to 0, I couldn't kill it. I got about 13% of battery in 10 minutes of charging. So again, extrapolate that out. You get about 76 minutes to go from 0 to 100%. Now, if you guys have used supercharging before, or any form of quick charging, you'll know that once you hit about 90% battery, the charging really slows down. So we'll call it 90 minutes instead of 76, an hour and a half to go from 0 to 100, but the phone charges plenty quick. Now, jumping back in to see where we're going next, again, I'm just trying to show off this feature to you guys. If you hate that, then I'm sorry. The screen and the notch. The notch does not bother me at all. It's tiny. I heard a YouTuber, Demir Frank. If you guys haven't checked out his channel, I would highly recommend that you do because he makes some pretty great content. He talked about the notch on the Mate 20, which has the same notch as the Mate 20X, versus the OnePlus. And you can see they're a similar style but a different shape. I agree with him. I do like it a lot better here on the Mate 20X than I do on the 6T. Just personal preference. Both of them are super small. The shape's just a little different. But neither one really bothers me at all. So, yeah, it's just there, you know, it's there, that's it, just there. Now, the screen also supports HDR10 content. So we've got a Samsung AMOLED display that supports HDR10 content. I'm not exaggerating when I say this might be the best screen that I've seen in 2018, and I did also own a Galaxy Note 9 there for a little bit of time. So, screen's awesome, HDR10 content, pair that with the stereo Dolby Atmos speakers and the crazy battery life. If you love content consumption, you're always on Netflix, Twitch, YouTube, whatever, you're going to love this phone. Hopping right back in. Already talked about the battery and charging. Next up, the M Pen, which you can see I'm using here. So it's no S Pen, but it's better than a stylus. Now here's what I mean by that. If any of you guys use the Galaxy Note 1, it feels like the Galaxy Note 1 pen a little bit as far as actually using it on the screen. It's not necessarily a rip, it's just you got to recognize it's a first-gen product. Now you can still, let me push the button on it here, you can still do things like multitasking, multi-window, and I'm on the home screen there so it's not going to let me do it, but you just drag across, you can do your split screen apps. If you push it and hold it down and draw a circle like that, you know, you can highlight something on there and just take a screenshot of that, which is pretty cool. And then also you can push down and tap, take a screenshot. There's also a way to open open your notepad. I forget what that is. Maybe just push down and double tap. Anyway, there's a way to open the notepad, which I apologize, but I can't remember at the moment. Yeah, I'll figure that out when I have more than 24 hours with the phone. But you can see here, it's not, it's not going to look super pretty because you're still writing on a phone screen. Palm rejection's pretty good, not perfect, but pretty good. If I go in here to edit this note, and I hit handwriting right here, to scroll on the note, you use two fingers like this, which is pretty cool. If I just take my palm and put it on here, just, it works pretty well. First gen product, but it works pretty well overall. I'm really happy with it. I wouldn't pay 70 bucks for it, but that said, it's a free accessory like I mentioned earlier on Funky Huawei, so for free, yeah, definitely give it to me. Something else is, I don't know if you've noticed in this video at all, the power button has a red accent on it. I tried to call that out in my unboxing. If you look at it from the side, you can't really see it because the metal is still blue, but the paint around the metal on the side is red. I like that touch a lot. I think it's a cool little touch that they did, so yeah, that's awesome. Last but certainly not least, issues I've run into with this phone within the first 24 hours of using it. There's two I want to call your attention to: screen dimming and Nova Launcher. So screen dimming is the first one. We do have a fix for that one, which is good. We're going to jump right here into developer options under the settings, and what you want to look for is this: increase readability under sunlight. This one right here. You want to make sure that's unchecked. By default, it is turned on, and that's where the screen dimming comes in. I think it should be turned off by default. It's not, but hey, at least we have a fix for it. I'm not saying it completely disables screen dimming because I only use the phone for a day. I want to make sure that I'm clear on that. I just haven't noticed it if it's present at all. Next is Nova Launcher. So excuse me for this. I'm going to have to go into settings and type this in front of you guys. Jumping into default apps because this is the second time recording this part of the video. I actually just tried and it didn't work and I looked like an idiot. So I'm going to change our default launcher to Nova. Now we're in Nova Launcher. I know it looks the same. I had it set up very similar. If I push my recent apps, we kind of get this blue hue on the recent apps, and that doesn't happen on stock, and I'll show you that here in a moment. So we can swipe stuff away to the left or to the right, like you'd expect, or the middle, but we can only select the app directly in front of us there in the middle. So if we try this again, alright, I'm going to try to go back into Textra, which I was just in, to the right, and takes us home. And that happens no matter what the app is on the left or the right. Try Twitter, which is here on the left, and it doesn't work. So this is a EMUI 9 bug, I think. I reached out to Funky Huawei, funkyshop.club, because they are the ones that, like I said, sold me this phone, and asked if they'd heard about it, because they also do a lot of stuff with Huawei services, and they said they weren't aware of the issue that was currently going on, and I mean, they didn't have any other information to provide, which they're a retailer. I guess you can't expect too much more than that. They're not Huawei officially, but yeah, that's the issue that's currently happening. So what I don't like is the folders on the stock launcher look a lot like iOS. Swiping down from the top does not bring down the notification shade, which is what I have enabled on Nova. It brings down like an Apple-esque search. But what you can do is you can enable some fingerprint gestures on the back to where you can swipe down with the fingerprint gesture. And now it's going to make a liar out of me. There we go. Swiping down with your fingerprint will bring down the notification shade. So it's workable, it's usable. It's just something to keep in mind, at least for right now, if you buy this phone. Screen dimming you can disable and fix. Nova Launcher doesn't currently work. I haven't tried any other launchers. I don't care to, because Nova is my go-to. I've been using it for probably 5 or 6 years at this point. So anyway, guys, that's been my first impressions with the phone. A lot of stuff that I like about it, but again, that issue with Nova just kind of reminds you that no phone is perfect, but hopefully that'll get fixed moving forward. I've really enjoyed using this phone so far. Make sure you leave a comment down below if there's something you want to see specifically. I've got a review plan for this phone as well as a camera comparison against the Pixel 3. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.